and we'll sort that out. Okay, thank you. Over to Martin, Sharon, and Lisa.
Everybody, I hope you all enjoyed that fantastic lunch. Thank you, Ayrton, for your hospitality once again. It's great pleasure for me now to introduce somebody who Sharon and I think of as lighting royalty. Lisa, thank you. We've known Lisa for many years, and when you see the projects that she works on and the way that she works and the way that she talks about light, I'm positive that you're all going to agree with me. Lisa, over to you. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Hi. Do you hear me? Okay. First of all, thank you very much for your invitation. I'm very, very thrilled to give a talk today with all these lighting women and live and online. Let me introduce myself briefly. My name is Akari, Lisa Ishii. Akari means light in Japanese because we have a women family history in our family because my mother is also lighting designer and she's very still more and more, I would say, active. She's doing a lot of urban and architectural lighting based in Tokyo. And myself, I never thought about doing lighting until I came up to graduate school. I was in art school. I was interested in drawing, photography, and architecture design, but never thought about doing lighting. And I came to Paris, and I'm based in Paris now since more than 20 years. And when I came to Paris to study in a design school, I happened to design a lampshade, the lamp. And I was like, wow, it's interesting. And then I had to do some internship. So I knocked the door of lighting designer in France. And he, Louis Claire, came kind of injection of love to the lighting. So this is how I discovered lighting. At the time, Paris was very, very actively transforming in global urban scale. Thanks to big projects like Pyramid in Louvre, you must know it. And from the beginning of the project, the lighting designers were integrated in the project. So it was a kind of starting at a big boom of architectural lighting design in France. So I happened to bump into this great period, very exciting and very active, and I decided to be a lighting designer. So today, I would like to, so the self-introduction. Then 2004, I founded my own studio called I.C.O.N. And a couple of years later, I launched lighting, not only the lighting, but also the music. So it's called I.C.O.N Music Label, IML. So we have composer in our team. So we try to do lighting and music to make more global ambience creating project. Today, I would like to share with you some of my projects, not very entertainment oriented, but the other part of lighting design that I'm doing, urban lighting, landscape lighting, architecture, exterior, interior, exhibitions, events, light art, and theater. Because this morning we had a great speaker talk about the theater. I'm not going to the theater, but I would like to share with you the different fields of lighting design, but everything about narrative lighting, because narrative is something very fundamental for lighting design scheme for me, because you have to tell a story and you construct your project according to the story, and this story will bring you to something new, something different, and together with the team. It's a kind of guide. So starting with urban space. Urban space lighting is more or less, or very more, technical matter. We have the standards and norms and recommendations and all that stuff. But we still have some small room to give our creativity. So I would like to share my latest project in a city called Le Havre in the west side of France. It's a small, well, quite sector, big sector close to the station, and there was once a prison. So the sector itself was very badly frequented, and the city started to renovate the city, this sector, about 10 years ago, and they demolished the prison, and they called a tender for the urban designer, architect, lighting designer, and engineer to renovate this entire sector. And we have this big plaza, which is the core of all the activities of the neighborhood. And what I wanted to do is to combine all the lighting equipments, but not only the lighting, but also to communicate like Wi-Fi and the cameras and speakers and all these equipments into a big arch. It's like in the theater you have this buttons on above the stage, and then put it in vertical way so that it fits to the urban space. And we use the gobo. Our favorite speaker in this morning explained about the gobo. Most of you must know what it is. It's a little metal with the design graved into it. And we chose one of the plants we found on the plaza, and designed this pattern to mark up the very strategical corners, or on the sitting spaces, and on the kids' playgrounds, like the slopes. I tried it at 2 o'clock in the morning. I loved it. The thing was too short for me, and so it gives another way of entertain the entire city, and the city became like a theater for the neighbors. And this plaza has different functions. One part is for the kids, one part for the just rambling, and one part for the gardening, and one part for the sport. And the sport part has this running track. I decided to put the color lighting. It's like, sports became like more and more show, and this plaza has a gymnasium just next to it, but kids play outside should enjoy something different than when they play the sports in the gym. And I also used this method of colored shadow, colored shadow, and I used this colored lighting mixed to one space, so that the light itself looks white, but when you get into it, your shadows become like different pastel colors. So it's like surprise experience for first of all for the kids, and then for the adults, of course. They come into the plaza and they don't see it's colored, but when you get into it, you discover something else. So this is a part of storytelling, and then they will talk about it to their school friends, to the family. So this storytelling coming not only from the lighting designers, but from the user to future users. The second category is landscape. I had a chance to work for a historical garden in Chantilly. It's the north of France, very classy castle and the garden. And in this garden, you'll see some ponds, lakes, and inside they have a very nice, fancy island. Looks like this. Of course, in France, there are a lot of constraints to light up historical monuments because there are very strict controls. So we had to present to an architect, monument historique, historical monument architect, to have the permission to touch the garden. And they said, I don't want any lighting fixture appearing in the daytime. So what should we do? So we decided to sunken all the lighting fixtures in the pond. So in this picture you don't see it, but it's you can see the nice moving of the water. By the way, it's a PDF or PowerPoint, because I just noticed that we have a white frame. well, anyway, we go on. And on this island, we have a statue of Eros, which is the god of love. And this garden became a favorite place for the wedding party now because they can have a party in front of the statue of l'amour. And so this is a perfect situation to make a narrative storytelling lighting because in front of this god, there is a goddess of beauty called Diana, and no, Venice, and this Venice is surrounded by a forest, and at the entrance of this of her world, there is two trees like V shape. So we underline these trees, and when you get into this universe of this Venice, the statue is lit by little bit white and bluish color, and we make a special shuffle of LED fixture using only white and blue to make this kind of lunatic environment, so that this goddess of beauty respond to the god of love in front. So they are kind of dialoguing between them. So we can feel this stories, and we come back to the hotel, which is newly constructed on this garden, and we made different lighting shows for the fountain, and especially for the wedding, we chose pink. Architecture exterior, which could be quite spectacular, but also with the norms and standards and everything, very technical part is always required. I had a chance to work for Pompidou Center in Metz in this spectacular architecture. It's like a big white mountain, and to tell you the scale, you see this rectangular window. The height of this window is 7 meters, so it's a huge building actually. And I was just I became independent lighting designer 2004, and this architect Shigeru Ban won this international competition at the same time. Of course, I had no connection to this superstar architect, but I went to see the exhibition of this winning project at Pompidou Center in Paris, and I fell in love with this building. It's like beautiful, and I really wanted to light this because I thought this building could look better at night rather than in the daytime. So I made a picture, and I turned into a night view and Googled Shigeru Ban architect in Paris. I called him. Well, I called the office. No wish to get him directly, but he was there and he picked up the phone. And he said, okay, it's funny because I'm looking for a lighting designer for my newly winning competition project. So, okay, can I come to see you? And I showed him this diagram that, the museum is something where you can fly from one direction to another, from one expression to another, to one art expression to another artist. So it's like a flying carpet moving around over the glowing cloud. So I want to make your building like a glowing cloud. And he said, that's fine, good, okay, let's do it. And this is the result. So you see this interesting structure is backlit from the bottom, but they are not just to light up the roof, but also bounding back the light into in the building. So it also contributes to the functional lighting. So this story that I told him, clouds, lighting clouds, was kind of backbone of this long time period and very complicated project for 5 years. And the first presentation, I was so nervous, but I showed many beautiful pictures of clouds in lighting, and people like, what is this talking about? But this is something that, which remained in the mind of all the construction team and the clients, and they follow the story with me at to the end. And so when they saw it at the end, they said, "Here we go, the cloud." So I was very proud to have this great opportunity to share a story with all the people that I worked with for 5 years. So you see this structure lit from the backside, make a very nice silhouette onto this structure. Another project in France, in the middle of France, called Tours. It's an old cloister now converted to a culture center, and it was a competition. And in France, by the way, all the public building has to go through a public tender and competition, so it's always a big battle. When I saw this place, tiny cloister, beautiful, like a pearl inside of a big noisy town, I thought about how it could look like when it was constructed. So I imagined that the moonlight casting and the monks carrying their candles or oil lamps to read their books. So I said only that. So that was the story I told, and I won the competition. So you can see the blue light like moonlight, and the warm white light like candle lights. And all the facades are lit by only one lighting fixture because the moon is unique. I didn't want to have several lighting fixture. So it was very low energy consumption as well. And I won a Grand Prix for lighting design project in France at the time. And for the cloister corridor, it was very minimalist as well. So we lit up only the pathway, and in front of you there's something recalls that where you want to go and where you have to where you're following as an itinerary. And only the moon and the candles. That's it. But it was strong message and storytelling. Architecture interior. Once again, interior spaces are sometimes very functional. We have to follow the lux level and glare levels and all these things you confirm. But sometimes I can play with some stories because I love it. This is Imperial Pâtissière for Japanese imperial family, and their tea house newly opened in Kyoto called me to do lighting design for interior and exterior. And actually their tea room is located in a very quiet residential neighborhood. So I didn't want to make a show up entertainment things for the exterior. So I just lit up very underlining some of the details, but not on the logos, to be more kind of discreetly integrated in the neighborhood. And there are some small lighting fixtures inside which are seen from exterior that's gonna call visitors into the tea room. And this is the inside of the tea room. You see some pendant lights give accent to the space and indicates where your sitting place. And my storytelling thing is these fixtures, because I designed them inspired by their logo, the emblem. And on the right side, you see the pendant light made with bubbly glass, the bubbles inside the glass. It makes a very nice glow. It's like a jelly, so you want to eat it. So I wanted to make something that you want to eat, but it's lighting. And on the left side is a bollard in a garden. It's made of very thin ceramic. And in Japan, we have a kind of jelly um, um, sweet, made with almost this kind of texture. So for us, it's something reminds us of the sweets that we eat in the afternoon. And I went to see ceramic master in the mountainside, long way from Tokyo. And at the first time, he was like, I'm not quite sure I can make it, because I asked him as thin as possible, as big as possible, as not glowy, not polished like a teapot. And he was like, okay, I'll think about it. So I said, okay, he's not going to make it. But after all, he contacted me back and he said, okay, I would like to try. And he made a beautiful porcelain lighting fixtures, and we installed it in Kyoto. And by the way, this master never came out from his village since 20 years. And for the first time, he asked his daughter to bring him to the Kyoto tea room to see his work installed in a garden. So it was another, heartwarming story added onto this installation. Another shop is in Tokyo, in Ginza area, which is very luxury shopping area, of a Japanese sake called Dasai. And the interior design was made by Kengo Kuma. He used a very delicate white colors and papers. And the story is, well, at a glance, you will see very clean and white, very Japanese Zen style shop boutique. But the thing is, all the paper, Japanese paper that he used contains the rice grains inside. And the sake is made of rice, so he has already something narrative in his architecture. So I came in this way and I backlit this paper wall so that we can see these grains integrated in this paper fiber. So this is all what I did is just to show up this delicate grains of rice in the paper. That's it. I didn't do spotlighting on the products or whatever. It's so sober, but it fits to the philosophy of this shop. You can probably see some of the grains in the paper. So only thing we want to this sake maker wants to say is the quality of the rice and water, and at the end the quality of their sake. So only thing we could highlight on by lighting was the rice. So this is what I did. Exhibition. I do a lot of exhibition lighting in Paris, for example, at Grand Palais, Petit Palais, Quai Branly, mode museums, and so on and so forth. It's very technical matter because most of the the artworks are very fragile, and you have a strict lighting level to respect. For example, for the watercolors, for the textiles, we cannot go to more than 50 lux. As you may know, 50 lux is quite low. So bring the visibility, respecting the conservatory, and also enjoyable environment for the visitors, but also expressing the philosophy of each of the exhibitions, the exhibition designs. So lighting has a lot of responsibilities in exhibitions. In this particular exhibition that I did lit in Tokyo, it was quite atypical because the designer of the how do you call it? The curator, sorry. The curator wanted to use the light to express the philosophy of this exhibition about the furniture designer called oh my God, I lost the name. That's gonna come back. So this furniture designer. So he's French, and we we show this this exhibition in Tokyo, the the philosophy was to follow how the chair is designed and made in process. When you get into, okay, the designer, let's design a chair. The designer doesn't have any image, and somehow the design, the shape comes from the from somewhere. It's like inspiration. It comes from the sky. So the first shape of the chair that we can guess has to be done something else than the real chair fabrics or the wood. So it's pieces of glass beads suspended in the middle of the first room, and the light has to be very symbolic and also mysterious, so that we cannot really guess that this is the chair or what. And then the more you go, you can follow his drawing. He's drawing the shape. He's drawing the the shape of the silhouette, and we don't know yet how it's constructed, how what color is, what material is using. So the curator wants to just to show the shape, but not the videos, because video is fake. She wants to show the real chair after all, but she didn't want to show it from the first. So I did the silhouette, this very archaic technique, just put the small lamp and show up the chairs. And the visitors follow this curving wall and come into another side of the wall, and finally they discover the real chairs, and they noticed that the silhouette they saw was the real silhouette of the real chairs. So this kind of the lighting, the lighting played a real important role to go to follow this process of designing and the visitors discovery. So it's not just to show the object, but to tell the story of how the design process is going in the brain of the designer. Event lighting, I think it's more easy to imagine that it's more narrative, because event is not just to make beams flying over everywhere, but we have to construct a story. So, but sometimes we work for cooperative events, and this was for the launching party of a pink champagne. And we could have just put lights everywhere to make a festive and party things, but we didn't want to do that. We wanted to tell a story. Again, it was in garden, so the visitors, they came up from the big gate, follow this kind of pathway with the trees on the both ways. We wanted to light the trees of in the colors of gradation, from a grape color, purple, to light pink, so that symbolically the visitors go through the process of the creation of fabrication of the champagne, from the grape to the pink, the rose champagne. And then they got to this party venue. Everything is lit by pink, and the pink lines around this pond, this water pool, was, at the time we didn't have the pink colored LED yet, so we used the usual white Christmas garland, and we put the pink plastic tubes to every single LEDs to make them in pink. And luckily, well, the good thing was that even though the guests drink lots of champagne, nobody fell down into the pool thanks to the light. And festive lighting for the fountains. Actually, water and light is my favorite theme, because it's really interactive and interesting. And then when you got into the venue of the party, you see the scenery mainly lit by pink, and there was favorite Japanese cherry blossoms, and so it was a perfect environment with all surrounded pink rosé. So it was not only to show up the party and the product, but to tell a story by ourselves, by our lighting. That was our theme. Light art is, of course, the most creative part of my activity. I was lucky to be appointed as one of the artists for the art festival in Kitakyushu, is the south part of Japan, to light up um, this how to say, industrial heritage. And it was very symbolical site for Japanese industrial history, because that was the first heavy industry installed during the modernization of the country. And this place is now a visitor center. The school visits and the tourists come to this place, and this area is still very depending on this heavy iron, steel industry. And this site became like a symbol, but not positive symbol, but also negative symbol, because of their sad history of pollution. And now this city recovered from the heavy pollutions, so and now became like a model city of getting to the next generation after the pollution, to go to a more eco-responsible politics. So we have to put all this in our lighting art project, because it was a requirement from the art director. So okay, I have to do something. So you see this two themes which are quite contradictory. You see the picture on the left is a real heavy industry steel kind of brute things, and on the right hand you have to follow this new message of United Nations called SDGs. So two things cannot be compatible in one installation. So I decided to make a 5 minutes of scenario to tell the story, real history of the site from the beginning to today. So I used this music that I talked about the beginning of this presentation. I proposed the music and lighting installation solution. So you can see a big port site, and this siros in the middle. So I lit up with event lighting fixtures for the temporary of 1 week. And I develop a story with different colors of light, gobos, and movements synchronized with the music. And so this is a scene that to express that once these siros were used really for the steel production, and the mills were turning, and to express the heat and the movements and all this real industrial movements inside. And then once the industry stopped, the nature come back to take over the site, and this is why we used the motif like leaves, like clouds, like more organic forms. And then the show repeated for 1 week. Another event, we are really lucky to have chance to light up the Eiffel Tower for the 160th anniversary of Japan and France. The most stressful part was not only the scale of the tower, but also this tower is known for a rich history and vocabulary of lighting expressions from the construction. So many things were tested. The first of all, it was used lit by the gas, and then incandescent lamps, and the fluorescent tubes were used, and then now is sodium lamp. And many events were done with lightings, and even the projection mapping was failed because it was quite difficult to project image on this skeleton building in big scale. And also it's brown color, so it's not really favorite condition for a projection. So we had a lot of this pressure. So the first submission for the permission was rejected by the city because they didn't believe us that we can project the image onto this tower. So we showed the calculation and all this technical data. They didn't believe us either. They said, okay, let's try that. Let's try it out and show us, prove us that it works. Okay, so we did the test 6 months before the real day of the event, and the first projection was done, and the city people like, okay, nice, bravo, you can do it, you have the permission. So we're like, oh my God, because the pressure, another pressure on this this event was that the Crown Prince of Japan at the time, now he became emperor, was supposed to come on the day of the opening to push the button. So luckily we have this permission, fortunately. So we made a 20 minutes of show for this occasion to express also the history of the friendship between Japan and France. That's why I projected this rising sun on the tower, going up and up and up. Because in France, there's expression to say, instead of saying Japan, we say le pays du soleil levant, means the rising sun country. So all the French people knows that rising sun means Japan. So this is why this expression to open up this this show. And then the music changes, and we really dressed this old lady of Eiffel by kimono colors and the projection of the our Japanese traditional patterns. And of course, this is a show, so we have to do something more futuristic and more entertaining, and it's more fun and technical things. So we had great fun. And for the projection part, we assumed. We projected some of Japanese paintings and kimono patterns and the colors, especially for the bottom part. The materials are more thicker and denser. So we did this, all this only for 2 nights, but it was very exciting experience. And the show ended up with this emblematic image that Eiffel Tower was turned into a gold colored tower because we had a partnership with LED manufacturer to make a golden LED tip, because golden yellowish color is very difficult to make with RGB mixture. So many manufacturers are proposing their own tips to make beautiful yellow, lemon yellow to golden yellow. And this time we didn't use RGB, we just make a special LED tip to make a golden yellowish light. And we tested on the structure, real structure of Eiffel Tower, because the matching of the brownish painting of the tower and the yellow light is quite delicate. So we made some of tests and and then went up with this specific lighting color. And then we projected LED gold color on the top, and on the bottom we projected a famous painting of Japanese national treasure, which has the golden background. So we made entire tower like a tableau. So this is how we end up with this. So as you can see, in different lighting field, the lighting design field, from urban lighting, architecture, event, exhibition, and also to the event, storytelling is something very key to the success of the project, in my opinion, because it brings people together and it guides your production, because sometimes you face to difficulties, technical difficulties, authorization difficulties, maybe inside of the team they could have human relationship difficulties, but this guideline could bring you to the end. So this is what I wanted to say with lighting and storytelling. Thank you very much. And to end up with, if you're interested in some of this show, on my site, website, you can see all the videos, movies of my installations, if you wish.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you. That was brilliant. Thank you very much. It was really interesting. I love the way that you sort of did continue that story about narrative. Really interesting to see as well that there's obviously nowadays, we've noticed it, lots of theatrical techniques crossing over into architectural lighting. So gobo lighting in urban spaces and coloured shadows. That was brilliant. A question for you on the narrative side of things. With a show, obviously the narrative is maybe obvious, or it may be there as the story of the show. With an urban space, where do you start with to generate a narrative?
First of all, of course, I do sometimes very functional urban lighting project, and it's very boring. So as much as I can, I try to insert my personal story into a project.
Yeah. I think we saw the power of that on the Shujien building, where you said the whole construction team were on board with the story and it just guided everything through. So I think it's obviously a good thing to do, because it does bring people along.
Yes, I try to name my projects from the beginning. When I do my concept creation, I try to give a name and story. So once you have a name, like a child, you have your own personality, and it follows the life.
It's a really wide range of projects that you work on. Do you have a favorite type?
My favorite is my diversity.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I quite like this contrast of the scale and the time lag and the expression and the techniques that we can apply. So this is very inspiring for me, because sometimes doing the theater inspires me to do something more festive in urban space, and this kind of interaction and between the different fields of lighting design inspires me.
And that's actually something that might be quite interesting to our audience, because I think lots of people are from the event side of things. What's the typical time scale for an urban lighting project or an architectural project?
Very good question, because some of the urban lighting project we have 15 years of contract, because entire city is to be constructed. So and still we don't have we are not sure if this entire city will be constructed in 15 years of time. So recently I got the tender and says that, okay, the project term is 15 years and it's going to finish in 20, I don't know what. Am I still in the industry, or what I will be doing then? It's a kind of big challenge, but well, city lighting could last from 5 to 15 years. For the plaza rehabilitation, it could last 5 years. Big construction of the architecture, it could take 5 years. Small shops could take 3 months.
Yeah.
So it's really.
I guess there's challenges within those long-scale projects as well, that when you're specifying products, you have to know that they're still going to work or be available.
Well, it's a very tricky part of long project, because even in 2 years of time, you may not be sure of using the same materials, because LED is developing so fast. It really happened to us once for one street. The project just lasted a long time, and at the beginning we we did all the project with the metal halide because it was the the technology that we were using for the street light. And 3 years later, when it became to the installation phase, and the city hall told us that, well, it's we have to change everything to LEDs, but it's not our fault. So obviously we had to do our study again to adapt our project into LEDs. So of course it's a continuous challenge to update our technology.
So I'm conscious I'm hogging all the questions. Is there anybody out there with a question, or Linnea, anybody coming online yet? No.
I can ask a question.
Oh, okay.
I was going to say that I think your work is a really good example of you bring your cultural background to the way you design, and you sort of see the influences of Japan stuff, like the sake shop. It's just beautiful. Are there particular inspirations you have from your background?
I'm not trying to stick on my background or my own native culture, but every time I start new project, is a new meeting. So I discover the project, I discover the new architecture, for example, and I try to find a story inspiration from this context of the project, not myself. Otherwise, I would have been doing almost the same thing everywhere, so it's not interesting. So my project inspiration is coming from the project, the site, the architecture, or could be a plant that I found on the place, or the architect who want to apply a special materials. So it really depends.
Just one thing I was going to ask, we were having a few conversations at lunchtime about children and how our children have absolutely no interest in lighting whatsoever. Your mom is obviously, she's got one of the first established lighting practices in the world. It's been going for such a long time. What did she say when you said to her, I want to go into lighting?
Until the age of 23, I didn't want to do lighting, so she never say anything about lighting. And I quite disliked lighting because this is something that took over my mom away. So lighting was absolutely not my center of interest when I was a kid. And but when I told her that I want to be a lighting designer, she was almost jumping from the chair because she didn't expect me to do lighting design.
And how has it been working together? Because you've worked together on lots of stuff now.
Yes. We're quite different in terms of character and approach to the project. So we respect to each other, and when we discuss a lot to have a mutual understanding and respect to what the other is trying to do, and then try to put things better. And the second time that she was jumping from the chair was I declared that I wanted to be an independent designer, and I wanted to do my office in Paris. So she was like, what? Because for your information, France has a lot of lighting designers, very established and very talented lighting designers, and most of them are quite actually women, I should say. And in Japan, lighting design is still kind of developing. So for her, it's kind of jumping into a very difficult pond to do my exercise in Paris. But for me, it was the other way. I'm more stimulated, it's more exciting to be with these colleagues in lighting field to have more inspiration, to more networking, not more conversation. And I'm part of the board member of the French Lighting Designers Association. It's very rich experience.
Thank you. Okay. Linnea, are we taking another little break? Or?
Well, I was thinking we just continue on to the next speaker, and then after that we have a nice coffee coffee. Maybe
Excellent.
champagne break. Maybe it's time for that.
Wow. Lisa, thank you very much.
Thank you very
That was
much. Thank you
absolutely
very much.
fascinating.
Thank you.
Give us a second to swap over. No.
We're not having a break.
No,
You're straight on.
Straight on. Well, do you
Yeah,
want
because
to?
I saw